I'm now being joined by Mr. Nalinikanth Gollagunta. He is the CEO of the automotive division at Mahindra & Mahindra. Mr. Gollagunta, thanks so much for joining in today. Largely my first question, because, you know, a very strong sales growth, over 20% in this month. We've also seen that momentum continue for FY26. Now, with 1 month to go, you've crossed 6 lakh mark for the first time, on set for 6.5 lakhs as well for this year. Could you give us some perspective of what's leading to that momentum to start us off with?
Yeah, firstly, strong month overall. We delivered slightly more than 60,000 SUVs at about 19% growth. Industry overall is growing about 11% or so, our projections say, and then even SUVs itself within this 18%, so we outpaced that as well. 2-3 factors, of course, GST is a significant factor driving the demand growth as well. But we also had 2 major launches which came up, 9S, which happened in late November, and then we had 7XO in early Jan. Both of them put together was also driving good growth for us in Feb. So we are quite optimistic this growth will continue. We are not seeing any reduction in demand that we see, whether from a Scorpio or Thar or the other products beyond just the new launches as well.
Mr. Gollagunta, you know, that's very strong commentary, of course, but also on the bookings, you almost got 93,000 bookings at the start of January for both the 9S as well as the 7XO. Could you provide an update on where are we with that, if not a direct number, at least some quantification?
Yeah, it's hard to give an exact number because we are also delivering vehicles at great speed at this point in time. So there are lots of ins and outs. I think the way I would characterize it is our walk-ins and our daily bookings, if you look at it, are quite strong. They are higher than what the original 700 was. So definitely there's some upside there from 7XO demand that we see. This goes beyond the bookings that we talked about, which came in on the first day or so, right? So the second piece is 9S is doing very well as well. In fact, if you see our EV portfolio, this is the first time we have crossed 6,000 volume. Our wholesale billing was more than 6,500 for the first time. So I think very strong, and that was supported largely by the 9S coming in as well. So our hope is that that this will continue, the momentum will continue on the SUV front. 9S would be a core part of it, but 9E is doing quite well as well, and so is BE6.
So in that case, Mr. Gollagunta, let me ask a specific question on the 7XO, because the earlier model, the 700, used to hover around, you know, between 10 to 12,000 at the start of when it was launched about 4 years ago. Faded down a little bit at the end, but could you give us some perspective if that momentum has continued with this new model launch as well?
Yeah. So 700, if you look at it, we were averaging around 7,000, 7,500 in the later part of the life cycle. Of course, earlier in the life cycle, like you said, we were more in the 8,000, 9,000 range. The capacity is 10,000 at this point in time. Of course, we have shared that some of the capacity with 9S. So overall put together, it's about 12,000, 13,000 capacity between the products. And our effort is to make sure there's enough fungibility between 9S and 7XO, that depending on which way the customer is moving, we'll be able to move that as well. So net, it's about 12.5 to 13,000 capacity between the two of them.
The interesting part about, you know, as an industry is because both are 7-seater models, the 7XO as well as the 9S, you're offering those in the same showroom as well. And very interestingly, in our previous conversations, you have highlighted the fact that there has been a customer walking in for the 7XO, moving into the 9S post a conversation with your personnel at the showrooms. Could you give us some perspective if you see that happening yet as well, and what is it that right now, post both these launches in the month of January as well as in November last year, that you see now with the customer at this point of time?
Yes, so there's 2 types of customers walking in. One customer is somebody who has 7-seater in their mind. And a lot of these guys come for the 7XO. And then it's a choice between the 2 products. We offer test drives of both the products. The teams are trained to talk about both the products so that it's a seamless experience for the customer. And we let the customer decide one way or the other, whichever the way they go, right? So this is generally the 7-seater segment itself, if you look at it. The other set of customers who walk in are guys who have very clear view that they want to buy an EV. They might come to see a 9S or they might come to see a 9E. And then really it's a trade-off between the 9S and 9E. And we are seeing that there are folks who still prefer a 9E given the design quotient of that is higher. It's a product which is very highly stylized. So that happens as well. But there's a set of customers who come specifically for 9S. They want the EV experience at the same time they want a 7-seater, and they stay with 9s as well. So it's a seamless experience if you ask me. And all these 3 products are on display and the entire team is trained to talk through all these products as well.
Just a quick one on the 5-seater SUV market. Then you spoke about the 9e, but the company is targeting the 12.5 to 20 lakh, that price range in the SUV space. Now you have the Thar there. It has done well for you as well, and a differentiated strategy that you go with there. So is that still roughly 45% of the market, and how well have you done essentially in capturing that at this point of time?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, you're right. I think the ROX taps into that segment quite well. Overall, Thar portfolio itself, we are averaging around 11,000 or so, plus minus 500 this way, that way. And you're right, Star Edition has done well. It's actually gotten good traction. We're in the process of looking at increasing some capacity there as well. So that should help us on the ROX front. But you also have to remember that we showcased a new IQ portfolio in August last year, and that taps into that same 4.3 meter space as well. And that should be up and running in probably the late part of FY27 or early FY28 itself. So somewhere in the first or second quarter of calendar year next year would be a time would be bringing that in, as we have a brownfield capacity being built for that in Chakan as well. So that will tap into that segment as well.
But would it be safe to say, Mr. Gollagunta, that at this point of time the market is around that 45% between 12.5 to 20 lakhs, or has it gone above 50%, given that we've seen multiple launches from competitors, from yourself included, as you mentioned as well? So would that be a safe statement to say, according to you?
No, not necessarily from our perspective. In fact, what I would say is the folks who are starting to migrate from that segment to walk into the 7XO segment as well. We're seeing a lot more of that. They love the optionality of having a 7-seater and the value proposition they're seeing with the AX5, the AX7 of 7XO is doing very well for us as well. We see some of those customers graduating to B6, for example. That's a very, very strong 5-seater product in the portfolio as well, and the 9e to some extent. So I see it as a customer walking in and trying to see what is the best value prop they want to go after. It is not necessarily the length of the vehicle or the price. It's really what do I get for the price and what's the value I'm delivering, what I'm getting for that. So that's really what they're focused on. So our view is give the customer the choice and let them decide. We want to make distinctive products. They're not run-of-the-mill in that sense, and each one has its own audience. And we are hoping that at least one of those attracts the customer.
Well, Mr. Gollagunta, thanks so much for joining and giving us perspective for M&M in this particular month, and we wish you the best. Always look forward to our next conversation.